Hey guys, Adam from Offshore's Photo here. So what I will be doing on this channel in the future is heading out to different surfing locations, getting some video footage of surfing going on at those places and sort of talking a bit about the trips. At the moment we're going through this brutal flat spell in the UK where there just aren't waves anywhere really to speak of. I mean, I'm based in the southwest and it's pretty much been entirely flat recently. So what I thought I'd do for the time being is I would do a video where I show you some of the stills photography I've done on different surf trips I've been on. So I'm going to be including images from Hossegor in France, Nazare in Portugal, along with Peniche and Arifana, and I'll also throw in some images from a trip I took to Scotland, to Thurso. So France was the destination for my first sort of international surf trip. I'd been learning to surf for about 6 months. Booked a place in a hostel in this place called Vieux-Bucau, just north of Hossegor. Got out in the water and within 10 minutes I was bleeding. You know, nothing that dramatic, just my big heavy Bic board whacked me in the leg, cut myself, and just found myself sort of overpowered by the waves I encountered there. Wasn't ready to surf in those sort of conditions. So that day I headed to Hossegor, and what I didn't know was that the Quick Pro France was on that day, and I got to see all these pro surfers out in the water like John, Mick Fanning, and that kind of gave birth to my interest in surf photography. I didn't get great photos that day, but that really sort of reignited my interest in photography and sort of started me on this journey of doing surf photography. So France became a favorite destination for me, particularly this one wave in Hossegor. The wave is called La Graviere. It's a big, dramatic, barreling shore break wave. Hossegor gets very, very powerful waves because I believe a little way out to sea there's this huge sort of canyon, so it allows a lot of deep water to get closer to the coastline, which translates into big, chunky, powerful conditions that Hossegor gets, which is why it's sort of renowned as an international surfing destination. For a while I was going there mostly just for the Quick Pro France event, which used to take place at the end of September and early October. Unfortunately, that event has recently been pulled from the World Surf League competition tour schedule. So I don't anticipate that I'll be going back there at that time. I'm more inclined to go back sort of a bit deeper into winter when I'm more likely to see the more dramatic swells and conditions. But yeah, La Graviere, amazing place. You get to see lots of very, very high quality surfing. Even if you're not seeing the international pros there, I've seen pros in the water a few times there, like Joan Deroux, who used to compete at the highest level. I've also seen surfers like Italo Ferreira. I got an image here of him, you know, finding a gem on a day that was full of big, messy, chunky, overblown stuff, but he would still find great waves out there. As well as, you know, a lot of qualifying series level surfers are out there just ripping the place to pieces all the time. And the locals, even people who don't surf and compete, they surf at a very high standard, so it's a great place for a photographer and also for a surfer to go and look at, to be exposed to surfing of a standard that they may not have seen at their local break. Yeah, so I love France. It's not a great spot for people who are thinking of going, looking for a place that would suit a beginner. When I went there and when I was trying to surf myself, I hunted around and I ended up going and finding some sheltered spots in the Basque Country, sort of on the border between France and Spain, where the waves were a lot more beginner friendly. Still good, still of a good quality, but you know, they don't have these super fast takeoffs and they're not these very, very hollow waves that you get in Hossegor otherwise. Now, my next surf trip destination was Portugal. I went with a friend of mine. We went initially to Ericeira, although we didn't see a lot of surfing around Ericeira. We didn't surf there ourselves. Well, actually, my friend went in paddle out one day, but I don't think the conditions were any good while we were there. But we went up the road to Peniche, and Peniche, I think, is probably one of the best destinations for a surf trip because of the variety of waves that are on offer there. So if you're an advanced surfer and you want big, barreling, hollow, challenging waves, you've got Super Tubos, which is a famous wave. That's also a site of an international surf contest held by the World Surf League. But if you want beginner-friendly waves, you've got breaks like Baleal and Consolaciao that are nearby that offer a lot more sort of user-friendly conditions for the vast majority of surfers. So I really enjoyed that. I had a great surf there with that friend of mine at Baleal, and then I could just drive 10 minutes down the road and I can go and watch some heavy waves hitting the beach at Super Tubes. So yeah, I'd highly recommend Peniche. Now, while I was in Portugal, Nazare did break. And we heard word that there were going to be some of the big wave crew heading out. So I drove a couple of hours up the road and got to see it breaking. It was around 45 feet that day. There were some big wave pros who I recognised, like Kai Lenny being the most obvious one. He was out there doing his thing. But it was just interesting seeing Nazare. That looks like, of all the big wave spots, of course, it's the only one I've seen, but of all the big wave spots, it looks like the toughest to surf in some ways, because if you go right there, you end up right in the rocks. Even if you're going left, you've still got the that sort of church and the rocks directly below that are close by. So if you wipe out, you could easily end up in trouble. It's not a wave that I would want to get anywhere near to, although I hear it's a really good beach break at a smaller size. I didn't see it at a smaller size, but it's quite an experience just seeing what the water safety teams do out there. And I think what I enjoyed in the images I took more than anything was seeing the interaction between the jet ski drivers and the surfers, and those moments where the jet skis were kind of flying off the shoulder of the wave to get out of the way before it broke, or they were rushing in to try and pick up a surfer. I really enjoyed that aspect of seeing how those teams work together. So yeah, that was quite an experience. And then the last images I'll show from Portugal were further down the coast. We went down to Lagos, which I think is on the Algarve or near it. And we found a spot there which it's called Arafana. Again, it's a well-known break. But that was a beautiful spot. And we tried to surf. I didn't have much joy. It was very competitive that day. My friend got a couple. But I have a memory from that place where I was sort of walking along the beach with my camera in hand, and I happened to spot this really great surfer who was surfing a little further back from everyone else, surfing essentially a point that was formed towards the end of that beach, and he was just tearing these waves apart, sort of going top to bottom on them. And it was a thrilling moment as a surf photographer to suddenly see this guy who I hadn't spotted previously and to see what he was doing on those waves. So yeah, those images bring back happy memories from that trip. And then the last images I'm going to show are from a wave which is right at the top of the UK. It's a place called Thurso in Scotland. Again, I'm mentioning the names of these waves and the locations because they're internationally known waves. These aren't secret spots. Everyone who sort of is of a mind to hunt out surf breaks knows about these surf breaks already. So I wanted to go up there because I've always sort of been intrigued by the Highlands generally, and I've never got myself to actually head up there. So I decided I'm going to make the trip. Just drove straight up, and I didn't get to see it breaking in a really sort of dramatic way. I think the biggest waves I saw while I was there were head high, but it did mean, you know, the positive aspect of that is I felt comfortable getting in the water with the water housing. You know, I'd had the water housing about a month at that point, got in the water, and I got to see what a good quality reef wave looks like up close, and it was a nice atmosphere in the water that day, not a huge amount of surfers, friendly vibes, and yeah, I really enjoyed that place. Didn't get a huge amount of images from that trip, but I am actually heading to Scotland again in about 3 weeks or so with some friends. So look out for a video or a sort of vlog of that trip that'll be coming up on this channel. You know, as soon as I can get some footage together from it. But I'm very excited about that trip. Scotland is a beautiful country, full stop. You know, it's a fantastic place. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed that anyway. A little bit of escapism. If you're like me and your life kind of revolves around surfing to a certain extent, you're probably going a bit mad at the moment, but fingers crossed we don't have much longer to wait now. September is coming, winter is coming, the waves will come. So anyway, I hope you're all well, and keep an eye out for more videos that I'll be putting up on the channel. Thanks.